in sports. This is Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Grizzly Insider here on the Montana Television Network. Alongside the voice of the Grizz, Riley Corcoran, I'm Kyle Hansen. The Montana Grizzlies are rolling into the quarterfinal round of the FCS playoffs, but Saturday was a bit of a doubleheader for us, Riley. We had Grizz men's basketball getting a Mountain West win, and the Grizz football team beating Delaware. What a day.
It was pretty incredible, Kyle, and my voice is probably still a little hoarse from it, but it was fun. It's one of those days you dream about, right, that comes on the calendar that you get a call and watch two games back-to-back, and for Grizzly basketball, a much-needed win.
Yep.
This team went 20 days without a win, longest stretch in 9 years. So there was a lot of urgency. Coach DeCuire changed the starting lineup, put two new starters in, and this team got off to a better start. And the story of the day, no question, was Money Williams. For those who don't know out there, Money Williams lost his father Wednesday during the loss to Nevada. Found out after the game, tragic situation, wanted to play for his dad, and boy, what a performance. 21 points, 9 rebounds, made his first 5 shots in his second career start. So you feel for him, and it was a really good win for the Grizz. They needed it against a Mountain West foe, and now they have two NAIA teams this week, so maybe they can get on a roll a little bit.
Absolutely. The Grizz men's basketball team has been fascinating to watch so far, and obviously we will dive into them more as the season goes on, but there's just been ebbs and flows, and non-conference is so hard to gauge. But to get a win like that over San Jose State, I think was big for them, and just big for their confidence going forward.
Big time, and they played 3 money games this year, and they just front-loaded all of them. So 3 of them in the month of November, so they took their lumps, so to speak. And this is when you learn a lot about your team, and there were some growth processes, Coach DeCuire likes to say, and this is why I think you're going to see the best version of this team later on in the season. That's a good sign.
Absolutely. Now let's pivot to the night game and another Snow Bowl. How about that? Just
great.
like Cal Poly last year. We talk about it all year. We want it to happen, and we finally got it. And the Grizzlies walk away with a 30-point win, and I just really, from pillar to post, it was a dominant win.
It really was. I mean, you could say the only blip in the radar was the second play of the game when Clifton McDowell, maybe his second career pass in the snow, fluttered a little bit, but guess what? The Grizzly defense stood tall again, and I think Coach Hauck will agree with us later on in the show, but complementary football. Struck again, Kyle. Offense, defense, special teams. The first big stop, obviously, was from the defense, but then the block punt. I thought the block punt really swung the pendulum. Grizz were up 3-0 at the time. Then it was a one-play touchdown from Xavier Harris. Then it was kind of, ball got rolling a bit. Delaware was on their heels. You add in the crowd, you add in the atmosphere, the snow. It was a pretty special night. Are you sure? Did you say warm enough on the sidelines?
It was brutal. The thawing process afterwards is always fun to watch. We're all just dumping water off ourselves. But we look forward to it and are excited about it. And you're completely right. It just felt like one of these things, like kind of with some of their games here, once they get rolling, they just are very difficult to stop. And Delaware didn't seem quite able up to that task, partially because of the weather, but also because they've been dealing with their own issues, whether that be health and obviously a trip across the country. Blue Hens look good. I mean, they were a good football team. They were a big football team, and for a team in this weather to be that physical, I was impressed with that.
Well, absolutely. Out of the CAA, you look at the strengths of their team. I think up front, both sides, offensively and defensively, and then no question, their skill position guys are elite. The 2 wide receivers that they have, Youngblood, Townsend, running back Yarns when healthy was good, and they surprised everybody. They were at full strength. We thought banged up. It might be third-string quarterback, third-string running back. Kyle, they had their starting quarterback and starting running back, so even more impressive, I thought, that the Grizzly defense was able to impose their will a little bit, and like you said, they left no doubt. That game seemed to drag on forever. I think what got lost in the fold as well, season high in points for Montana with those 49.
Which is hilarious because 49 points is how much Delaware scored against them in 1993, the last time they played each other.
Don't you love the tie-ins? It's
crazy. Yeah, this just feels like a year where that's the storylines, right?
Absolutely.
They're just everywhere. But it's interesting, you know, like you said, the ball was rolling. They didn't really let up, and I just felt like Montana, once they took control, they'd get the big hit plays. You know, they had even had a 55-yard touchdown pass. It just felt like they weren't going to be stopped.
Absolutely. That was a big dagger. And then Jackson Lee. Scoop and score at the end. Was fun to see. Evan Schaefer trucking a defensive back. Some of the highlights that led to a dominant 30-point win.
Absolutely. We've got a great show coming up on this week's Grizz Insider. And coming up, Riley will catch up with Coach Hauck to break down the win over the Blue Hens.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider, the playoff edition, as Montana gets step number 1 knocked off. They beat Delaware 49-19, getting ready for Furman. Happy to be joined by head coach Bobby Hauck. And Coach, always great to survive and advance. Your thoughts from a dominant 30-point win over the Blue Hens.
It was a good job by our guys. You know, I thought our assistant coaches had our team ready to play, and they went out and played really well. The conditions certainly weren't optimum, but you know, our guys did a great job. I mean, we were in control of the game. early and never relinquished it, and it was a nice kind of, you're in the second round of the playoffs. You talk about a workman-like victory, but that's kind of what it was. It was a good, convincing win, and it's that time of year where we're going to enjoy it for about 2 hours, and then we're on to the next one.
No question. And whether it's 1 point or 30 points, it does not matter. You just survive and move on to the next round. How much anxiety or just nerves go into a game when you're coming off a bye week? You guys were just rolling with momentum, Coach. 4 straight wins in dominant fashion. Just how much, I know that you love your team and the makeup that they have in the locker room, but how much was there just maybe some nervousness going in saying, hey, can we keep this high level of play going into the playoffs too?
That's exactly what I would say to you. Is my concern was, are we going to be able to keep it rolling, get rolling again? And maybe we didn't necessarily play as well as we had at times in November, but we played well enough to beat a top 16 team. Top 16, they're probably a top 10 team badly. Hopefully we roll into this week and we're playing at our best next weekend.
Well, ranked as high as 5 in November, so Delaware is certainly a legit team out of the CAA. Okay, we got to get to the conditions, because in the span of 6:50 to 7:10, it went from clear on the field to absolute a snow globe inside Washington Grizzly Stadium. Number one, what was it like on the sideline? And number two, from a serious standpoint, how much did it affect the game, the play calls and everything in between?
Well, it was really coming down. Obviously, you were trying to see it from up above, and I was trying to see it across the field. And it was whiteout. Snow games are always cool, but the weather conditions were detrimental to the Grizzlies. Just how we play, our style of play on offense, defense. When the footing gets as bad as it was, that inhibits us in a lot of things we want to do. So, good on our guys for being able to just kind of muscle up and do it the old-fashioned way, but that really restricted us to a degree.
Well, what your offense did figure it out, Coach, and you guys score on 6 consecutive possessions after the opening interception. What did you see on that side of the ball? What got rolling as you guys had the Blue Hens on their heels, but 6 straight drives with a score in the playoffs? That is very impressive what you see offensively.
Those guys were doing a good job. It was well called by the staff. It was well executed by our players, but the fact of the matter is, it goes back to the complementary football thing. All 3 phases are interacting well. We're feeding off each other. We're making plays on defense or special teams, and then the offense is capitalizing on it, and vice versa. When we're doing that, we're hard to beat. It's a lot of fun to be around, and it's enjoyable for me to watch from the sideline.
Well, it's enjoyable to watch in the broadcast booth as well. How about on the other side of the ball? There was some confusion of who was going to be at quarterback. They surprised everybody. They have their starter return in Ryan O'Connor, so they were at full strength, Coach, when maybe we thought they'd be coming in here banged up. You still hold them under 2 touchdowns under their season average. What did you see from a defensive side of things on Saturday night?
They had their starter back. Obviously, that was good. We didn't know whether he was going to play or not. He did. The running back made it. I thought he played well early and then got dinged up again and knocked out. I thought Delaware fought hard. I thought they had a good plan. They got the big run the first half. They had like a 50-yard run because we kind of jacked it up a little bit on defense. But beyond that, it was kind of chucking the ball up in the air and seeing who could come down with it. They made a few plays. We made a few plays. But our defense was smothering. We swarmed them early on. I think it was evident if we kept playing that way on defense, things can change in the game. But if we kept playing that way, then it was going to be hard for Delaware to beat us.
Well, and really the knockout punch, I thought, was Jackson Lee, that scoop and score, that his 2nd touchdown of the year. So, young man getting in the end zone a couple of times. Coach, final question for you. Next opponent up, it's Furman. It's great from our side of things. It's a rematch of the 2001 National Championship, but moving forward to this year, it's the Big Sky champ against the SoCon champ. Your early thoughts on Furman and just the conference, the SoCon conference in general?
We've played teams from their conference. That part of the country, they play good football. There's a lot of good football players down there. I got a chance to watch Furman's game on TV a little bit yesterday. They have a good football team, and they're ranked number 2 for a good part of the season for a reason. You don't get there without being awfully good. So we've got our hands full with Furman. They're talented, they're big, they're fast. They've won a lot of games. We'll obviously get into them, but this will be a heck of a challenge this weekend.
It sure will be. 2 10-win teams going at it on Friday night, 7 o'clock, inside Washington Grizzly Stadium. Kyle Hansen will join us on the other side of the break with senior safety Nash Fouch.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizzly Insider. And I'm excited to be joined by senior safety Nash Fouch, a man who forced a fumble against the Delaware Blue Hens. Nash, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Just walk us through that first win, second round win for you guys coming off of the bye, kind of getting back rolling. Just how did it feel to walk away with a 30-point win?
It's awesome. You know, get out to a fast start in the playoffs, send a message to the rest of the team still alive, and you know, it's nice to get a break for a week and then come out fresh and take it to those guys.
You guys have had the bye before in the playoffs, and then obviously the bye every season. So when you're coming in, just what was it like? You know, so much momentum after the Bobcat game, where you kind of have to refine that. Was that difficult at all, or have you noticed that at all?
Not really. I mean, riding the high of the Cat game is first of all really fun, but I think we did a really good job of refocusing, and I mean we had a leg up on these guys because we had an extra week on them, and I think that was really helpful for us. But I think everybody on the team just did a really good job of, you know, we celebrated that win and we enjoyed it, but I think we did a really good job of refocusing and getting ready for Delaware, and showed last night.
You're rolling from there, right? Yeah. So for you guys, just walk us through the game. Obviously, there's the interception kind of on like the second or third play of the game, and then the defense immediately gets the stop. You guys kind of set the tone early, I felt, and kind of rolled. Like, how did it feel kind of in game as you guys kind of made your mark against the Blue Hens?
Yeah, I always like going out first anyways. So
it's perfect for you.
No, but we take pride in sudden change stops, and to get an opportunity to do that on the first drive, I think kind of excited us. Just try and keep our offense in the game, because once they get going, they're pretty hard to stop. I think, you know, take it as a challenge and great way to start the game for us.
Not to make a pun or anything, but it feels like a snowball effect, right? You know, even though it was in the snow. For you guys, it feels like once you get that stop and get the momentum, you guys are just hard to stop. Like, can you notice that? It felt like that game was especially the case. Yeah,
I think we've seen it in the last couple of games. I think from the offense and defense. Like I just said, once the offense gets going, they're really, really hard to stop. I think it's the same with the defense. I don't think a lot of teams are used to the speed that we play with, and once we kind of get on them, I think they get on their heels a little bit, and maybe don't want to or don't know how to match the speed that we play with.
Right. So, elements, what was it like kind of battling that challenge, but also the fun of the second year with the snow game? Kind of wild thinking about Cal Poly a year ago, and then it's back.
Well, it was crazy. Coach Hauck lied to us, said there was no snow in the forecast, and we came out of after warm-ups, came out of the tunnel, and it was dumping. And for us, I mean, I don't think it really bothers us. I love it. Right. I love when it's coming down like that, and you know, they're not used to it. I mean, I guess we're not really either. It's kind of hard to prepare for something like that, but it's so fun playing out there in the snow and, you know, doing the belly slide after the game.
Right, yeah, the best part, right?
Yeah, it's so much fun. But yeah, it's a really cool scene. A snow game, December, Washington Grizzly Stadium at night, just doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. So. Atmosphere, exactly, right? It just feels special, and it did last year, too. Like, so no challenges, no difficulty with sight or anything like that you guys maybe noticed? Yeah,
there's some vision issues. The snow was sticking last night, too, so it was getting kind of clumped up on the cleats, so you got to kind of clear them off every play, which gets annoying. But you know, they got to deal with it too. So
they got to deal with it too, and you guys are obviously used to it being up here in the north. And so obviously you guys are rolling forward. You guys are one of the final 8 teams in the FCS playoffs. Got Furman coming in. A lot of Grizz fans remember that from the 0-1 national championship and the Grizz beating them. So do you know much about them, and then just speak to it as a whole, or just moving on and being in the quarterfinals again?
I don't know much about them. Haven't got a chance to watch the film yet, but I mean we're on it tonight, so you know, I'll know them pretty well a couple days from now.
Quick turnaround, right?
Yeah, quick turnaround.
Just you know, the thing we kind of always ask the seniors and the guys of this team, obviously the NAU game feels like it spurred this run, right? Now 8 straight wins, Big Sky champions, all that stuff now in the quarterfinal round. So for you, Nash, as a senior, just how special has this been, seeing the way things have turned around, just the role you guys have been on?
I mean, I think it's been the experience of a lifetime for sure. I think after that NAU game, I think everybody except for the guys in our locker room counted us out. And we knew we were a better team than that. We came out and had just a historically bad day, I think. But yeah, we never had a doubt. You know, we turned it around. I think the couple wins we got after that kind of springboarded us to where we are now. We got our swagger back a little bit, and you know, we've been playing with such an edge. I just don't think people can't match it, or no one's been able to match it yet. So
right, being a part of the senior class too, I feel like you guys are kind of really driving this home, because obviously you guys have been a very tight-knit group for a very long time and seen a lot of success. And just being a part of that group, how much has that helped as you guys have been able to turn this thing around and see everybody else buy in too?
Yeah, that's been amazing for me. I mean, I love the whole senior class. I love all the guys. You know, there's some of us who have been here for 6 years, and it's crazy to me that we're still here. You know, but we got a job to finish, and I'm just so happy to have been able to do it with those guys. So
and still rolling on, right?
Yeah,
that's the best part. Well, this is senior safety Nash Fouch. Nash, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Coming up, Riley and I will look ahead to Furman up next.
Take coverage of the Grizz with you. Download our app for your favorite mobile device today. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back to the Grizz Insider. The playoffs continue on. Quarterfinal round, 8 teams remain for a quest at an FCS National Championship. Glad to be joined by Kyle back up here. And Kyle, I tell you what, we go into this round every year thinking that there's going to be a lot of upsets. But now, in the last 3 seasons, the second round of the FCS playoffs, home teams are 22-2. Home field mighty important.
It's crazy because we're always talking about how important it is for the Grizz, right? Or North Dakota State, and how you always look at these runs to Frisco go through home field advantage. And this stat right there that you just mentioned drives it home, because that's why you want to get the seeds. That's why you want to get in the top 4, top 2. And it's paying off right now for all these teams. But, you know, the game it didn't pay off for was obviously over in Bozeman. What an upset for the Bison. Some people won't call it an upset because they have been the team of the last decade. But what a game, you know, and obviously a heartbreaker for MSU in the season they had, coming in as the Big Sky preseason pick to win the regular season. It reminded me what the Bobcats did this year, Riley, a lot like the Grizz last year. Picked to win the league and then just kind of struggled and faltered down the stretch. Whereas MSU this year, 2-4 against teams with a winning record, 1-4 against teams that were in the playoff field, which includes that NDSU loss. And so you look at that a little bit, and it tells the story of the season. But, you know, the Bison, we said coming in, they were one of those teams that were kind of on the outside looking in. They got that big upset. They've had MSU's number over the years, and they got it done. And, you know, just looking at the conferences, it's kind of the same players, right, who are just back here in the playoffs.
It really is. It's amazing how it all shakes out. The cream rises, right? That old phrase. And you look at it for NDSU, first time they've had to go on the road in a fall playoff since 2010. So a big win for them, blocked extra point, pandemonium on all of them. But yes, now you look at the conference strength, and that Idaho-Southern Illinois game was massive just from a conference landscape side of things. If Southern Illinois would have won that, 4 of the final 8 would have been Missouri Valley teams. Now it's a little bit more balanced. You have 3 from the Valley, 2 from the Big Sky, 2 from the CAA, and 1 from the SoCon. Clearly the 4 best conferences. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how this all shapes up. Now, we look ahead a little bit now at this week. We're down to 4 matchups, 7 of the 8 seeded teams. When you look at the bracket, what matchups stand out to you maybe outside of Missoula?
So the 2 that I actually have my eye on looking at this are Idaho and UAlbany, and then North Dakota State, South Dakota. And the reason that is because you look at South Dakota as the 3 seed and UAlbany as the 5, and they're still kind of the mysteries of the field, right? It's kind of the teams that no one is fully sure if they're good, but quite where they stand. Obviously, South Dakota had the win over North Dakota State earlier this year, kind of a wild win for them to beat the Bison. So it's going to be interesting to see now that they have these matchups, how are they going to actually play out too? Because Idaho, I feel like kind of got the playoff like jitters out of the way with their beating Southern Illinois, kind of going down into overtime and going down to the very end, where now it's like maybe they're settled in a little bit. So those are the 2 I kind of have my eye on to see how real are those other seeded teams.
Well, that's a great point. I think UAlbany is probably the team that just people know the least about.
Right.
But man, they put a solid team together, 10-3, but 2 of their 3 losses are to FBS teams. So 10-1 against the FCS. They had a dominating win over a conference foe yesterday. I'm intrigued to see, because much like the Grizzlies, North Dakota State was a different team when they lost to South Dakota earlier on this year. Rematch on the road. That's a fascinating matchup. But then the other matchup outside of Missoula, South Dakota State, Villanova. Can anybody challenge the Jackrabbits? They win 41-0 last week. Villanova's had a great year, but again, very similar to Delaware. Can they put up a fight? We'll find out. And then, of course, what happens here in Missoula this weekend. Should be fun. You ready for another short week, Kyle?
I'm ready for a short week. Under the lights, Friday Night Lights. We thought they were done with high school football, but no, man, it's back, and maybe Snowball 2.0.
I was going to say, watch your weather report, because it could be another snow game inside Washington Grizzly Stadium. We will wrap up the Grizz Insider on the other side of the break.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
And welcome back to the Grizz Insider. And we got to get Riley out of here before he loses his voice completely after the doubleheader on Saturday. But Riley, hopefully you get a couple days off before another busy week in Grizz athletics.
You know what? I think 2 days off will be the trick. 2 exciting Grizzly wins. That always means there's more excitement in my voice. That's a good thing, Kyle. But you're right. With football being moved now to Friday night, basketball accommodated it. We'll have a doubleheader basketball Saturday, 1 o'clock. The men will take on Montana Tech, and then at night the Lady Grizz take on Colorado State. So another jam-packed, fun weekend for Grizzly athletics.
And the last time at Tech and the Grizz played, upset Missoula.
It was Tech that won, so Montana's the one that actually needs a little revenge when they play Saturday. So that'll be a good test for Montana here this weekend.
Excited to see it. Love it when the Montana schools get a chance to play each other, especially in this early season of basketball. But kickoff for Friday Night Lights here in Missoula is at Washington Grizzly Stadium, 7 p.m. FCS quarterfinals between the number 2 Grizz and 7th-ranked Furman Paladins. We'll see you there. Have a great weekend, everyone.